Brahmananda namastubhyam Sadguru Lokanayaka Yogananda Premanandaschanye Vaye Chaparshada Ramakrishna Gata Prana Sarvamstha Pranamamyaham Sarvamstha Pranamamyaham Sarvamstha Pranamamyaham. Good morning. Good morning. Better? Too loud? No. Okay, so today I was thinking that we will spend the morning thinking about Swami Vivekananda's understanding of Sri Ramakrishna, of who is Sri Ramakrishna really. And as I was saying also last night, we find very little about Sri Ramakrishna in Swami Vivekananda's public teachings, the teachings he gave from the platform or in classes which were noted down and turned into books and in the lectures and the complete works. Only twice did he speak of his master, once in Wimbledon, England, and once in New York. And he described Sri Ramakrishna's tremendous austerities, his tremendous renunciation, his background in a poor, humble village, his practicing of the different religious traditions, his preaching of the harmony of religions, and his call to young people to renounce for the good of the world. But who Sri Ramakrishna actually is in Swami Vivekananda's eyes, we don't find there. We find it in some of the letters he writes to his brother disciples, and we find it especially in the hymns, the Sanskrit and Bengali hymns that he wrote on Sri Ramakrishna. There's 3 main hymns, 2 that we sing every day, though if we attend the arati at least. In our centers, we sing those every day. The khaṇḍana, bhava, bandhana, and om hrīṃ ṛtam. And then this hymn ācaṇḍālāpratihatarayo, which we took up last night. And there's a couple of other verses that he composed which are not set to music. So they're kind of like hymns or stotras, perhaps. But today, I would like to look at the hymn he wrote for the evening prayer, the āratrikam. It's called khaṇḍana, bhava, bandhana. And those of us who know Bengali or Sanskrit, it's more or less a Sanskrit hymn, but with a Bengali flavor. Some of the words are Bengali, most of the words are found in Sanskrit and in pretty much all Indian languages, at least. So, khaṇḍana, bhava, bandhana, breaker of the bondage of this world. So, before we get into the meaning of each verse, because when we sing this hymn, we should also be able to reflect on the meaning. It's a profound meaning, and that's when it becomes truly meaningful, when we understand what we're singing, and when we have a good understanding of what are we actually singing. So how did this hymn come about? When the Swami Vivekananda and his brothers first banded together to form a monastery, it was in Baranagore, at an old dilapidated house rented by Suresh Mitra. And Swami Ramakrishna set up the shrine, and he began to perform worship. And every evening, he would perform the arati. And it was a tremendous and very inspiring ritual. He would become completely overwhelmed with devotion and would be waving the chamara for a long time, dancing back and forth, and everybody would feel the inspiration. And they used to sing a song. What song did they used to sing? Was a common song, arati song from North India, which apparently was sung at the Vishwanath temple at Varanasi, which according to this book went something like this. Went Jaya Shiva Omkara, Bhaja Shiva Omkara, Natha Bhole Mahashambho, Hara 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 Mahadev, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Hara 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 Mahadev. It was quite short. They used to sing this. And when after the mutt shifted to Belur Mutt, the brothers were temporarily just to the south of Belur Mutt at Nilambar Babu's garden house, and there Swamiji was there in 1898. He composed this khaṇḍana bhava bandhana to be sung during the arati. Now, let's remind ourselves for a moment, what is the arati? It comes in the evening, the sun has set, it's a twilight hour, it is neither dark nor light, it is in between. It's a kind of mystic twilight, we can say. And a mood comes. Now that we're in modern life and we have electricity everywhere, we don't often notice when the sun has set because we may already be inside and the lights are on. But just think, 200 years ago, there was no electric lights. When the sun sets, everybody notices. It's a complete change in the atmosphere. And naturally, one's mind moves towards, what is this mystery of night and day, of the sun rising and setting? So the sun sets, and the tradition is we offer a worship to the Lord. And what is the form of that worship? We wave lights, and we wave a conch with water, and we wave a cloth, and we wave a flower, and then we wave a fan. What's the meaning? Actually, all of these are highly symbolic. Each offering symbolizes one of the 5 elements of Sankhya philosophy, the 5 elements which make up this universe. Now, we can say, hey, Swami, we know chemistry. We know that there are not 5 elements. There's over 100 elements. It starts with hydrogen, helium, etc., etc. Those are the elements. What are you talking about, 5 elements? This is an old superstition. Well, it's not elements in that sense. What it means is it's a reflection of how we experience this world. How do we experience this world? How do we experience everything? We have only 5 ways of experiencing this world, right? 5 ways. We experience through those of us who have all our senses intact. We have 5. Through eyes, through ears, through nose, through tongue, and through basically all our skin. So what do we perceive? We perceive with our eyes, we perceive light, we perceive form, we perceive color. With our ears, we perceive sound. With our nose, we perceive scent. With our tongue, we perceive taste, different kinds of tastes, sweet, sour, salty, etc. And with our skin, including, I was thinking, actually the inside of the mouth is not skin exactly, but it's also very sensitive. So touch extends to the inside of the mouth also, which is not technically skin only, but it's a kind of moist skin, I guess. So through skin, we perceive, we can perceive texture and temperature and all these things. This is the sense of touch. So the ancient sages conceived of the universe as being made up of 5 principles. The principle of light, the principle of, or we can say form, the principle of form, which is perceived through the eyes, the principle of space, which is perceived through sound, as sound travels through space, the principle of air, as we experience, the skin can sense the air like that, and the principle of scent, of gandha, which is perceived by the nose, and the principle of rasa, of taste, which the tongue can perceive. So the whole universe is made up of these elements in the sense of that's how we perceive the universe. So when we offer the lights, we're offering back to the Lord all forms, everything we have seen today, everything we have perceived through our eyes. And then we offer water, all the tastes that we have that we can taste. We offer this also at the end of the day back to the divine. And then the cloth represents space, the akasha. So we offer that the space in which everything rests, and which we intuit through the propagation of sound. We offer that to the divine. Then we offer a flower representing the earth and the sense of smell. We offer that to the Lord. And finally, we offer the fan, which is the principle of air. So we've offered back to the universe, back to the Lord, his own universe in the arati. And that is the more philosophical, Vedantic way of understanding the arati. There's also a very touching Vaishnava tradition of what's the meaning of the arati. See, Yashoda is waiting for Gopal to come back from his play. And finally, at the evening, the sun has gone down and she's calling for him. And he comes. Finally, he comes running. So what does she do? First, she wants to look at him to see, is he all right? So she gets a light. And she waves a light and she checks, is he all right? Is he not injured? Anything? He's all right. And so she sees his feet and she sees his whole body, his head, and then his whole body. She sees everything. So she's thrilled to see her Gopala. And then naturally he's been playing, so she better wash him up. So she washes him with water, gives him a little bath, and then naturally dries him. So with a cloth, she'll dry him off. And then with her heart full of devotion, she'll offer flowers and maybe put a garland around his neck, and then she'll fan him so he can cool off nicely. So this is another very touching way of imagining what's the meaning of arati. It's a devotional expression. We want to see the Lord, so we offer light, and then we wash his feet with water, and then we dry his feet, and then we offer a flower of our devotion, and then fan him. Interestingly, in some temples, for instance, in the Kali temple at Dakshineshwar, in winter, they don't wave the chamara. They offer only 4 at Arati time. So because it's cold, mother doesn't want to be fanned in the cold season. So they don't offer the chamara in the winter. We always offer the chamara because we are more philosophical. That's philosophical. We're offering the 5 principles. But true, in winter, we should wave it more gently. And in summer, we can give a more vigorous waving. So that is the arati. And so what did Swami Vivekananda? Let me read a little bit this reminiscence of the Baranagar monastery. The master seemed to be alive and enthroned in the tabernacle of the mutt to those devotees. Besides the daily worship before his image, in which mantras were recited, lights waved, incense burned, and gongs beaten in joyous adoration, offerings of the purest food attainable were made. Particularly impressive were the twilight hours, the time of Aratrika, when the monks lifted their voices in unison in the soul-inspiring verse, which was adapted from the hymn chanted at that hour in Varanasi at the temple of Vishwanath. Jaya Shiva Omkara, Bhaja Shiva Omkara, Brahma Vishnu Sada Shiva, Hara 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 Mahadev. So it was felt that Swamiji wanted to give something a little bit longer. Because it's just 4 lines, it was over very soon. So he composed first the first line of khaṇḍana bhava bandhana, the first verse, and the last part, Dedede-langa ranga bhanga. But it was a little bit, it was pretty short, and moreover, it didn't seem to keep switching those meters. It was a little awkward. Then Swamiji composed the remaining 7 verses. So we have they call it Ashtapadi, the 8 verses, which is considered very auspicious. The 8 verses are the main verses of this hymn. Plus then the meter changes and there is a more enthusiastic praise of Sri Ramakrishna. So we find that this hymn is it brings about a tremendously meditative mood, particularly in the way that it's sung at our main monastery at Belur Mutt. As you know, as soon as the arati begins and the monk who's performing the arati will slowly start waving the lights, and that bell will start ringing. And the whole temple joins in unison. Hundreds of monks, brahmacharans, and devotees filling the temple, and they begin this hymn, which is very slowly sung. The whole hymn takes about 18 minutes at Belar Mutt, because it goes, khaṇḍana, bhava, bandhana, like that. The verses unfold in this tremendously rich melody, which was composed by Swami Vivekananda himself in the Dhrupad style. And meanwhile, the pakawaj will be playing, the pakawaj, which gives a gravity to the music, doesn't it? It's this traditional two-headed drum, like a mridanga, except that the bass part of it has some atta, some whole wheat dough, actually, stuck on the drum head, so that it creates a very deep thumping sound, which you can feel in your heart if you're sitting close enough to it. And it fills the temple with this tremendous, if the drummer is skilled, with a tremendous sound. And Swami Vivekananda himself used to play the pakawaj and sing at the same time. He was gifted enough of a musician that he could play the pakawaj to this hymn and sing it at the same time. So tremendous. And then, of course, the hymn is sung, the first 8 verses are sung in this very slow rhythm, and then the whole 8 verses are sung again at double speed, at twice the speed. So it's beginning to pick up. And then, after that, the 8th verse is sung a 3rd time, at yet still a faster. And so by the end of the hymn, it's really vigorously singing the praises. And then, of course, at the very end, it comes back to that first verse and brings everybody back to that internal mood of meditation and adoration. So, one thing I want to mention about this hymn is that it is clear from all the hymns that Swami Vivekananda composed to Sri Ramakrishna that Vivekananda looked on his master as an avatar, as an incarnation of God. But he never would dream of asking anyone to accept that. He himself didn't accept it for many years. Sri Ramakrishna sometimes would say that he who was Rama, he who was Krishna, is born as Ramakrishna. And Vivekananda wouldn't believe it. He would say, until I experience it myself, I won't believe it. He was like that. He won't accept anything until he has experienced it himself. And yet, here in these hymns, he reveals this understanding. So he must have experienced it. He must have realized it. What it means, that is difficult to say, because we don't really have a clear conception, what is God? So then to speak of incarnation of God, what does that mean? It's difficult to say. So I don't try to understand so much, but I understand that Swami Vivekananda looked on Ramakrishna as avatar, and I understand Sri Ramakrishna as a tremendous spiritual personality, a manifestation of tremendous spiritual power and grace and love. And if we don't accord worship to such a one, then to whom shall we give our worship? But he would say, accept him according to your own understanding, according to your own attitude, your own bhava. Accept him in your own light. Let all accept him as they understand him. He would never insist you have to look on him as such, which is of course, some of the other religious traditions, including in India and the West, say, no, you have to, God is like this, and you have to understand, you have to accept him like this. And there's a creed in some traditions that I believe X, Y, and Z, and I hold on to that faith. So Vivekananda didn't say that. He said, no, you come to your own understanding. But we see the profound understanding he had of Sri Ramakrishna in these verses. So let's, I propose we go through each verse And some of you may also like to contribute if I have misunderstood something, or if you have an insight or a question, please feel free to pipe up and talk about this. So Sri Ramakrishna starts, Swamiji starts with this khaṇḍana bhava bandhana jaga vandana vanditomai. Vanditomai, I adore you, I love you. This is a love song. This is a song of deep devotion of Swami Vivekananda. And he has written it, of course, out of his own heart. And he has written it for the brothers of his monastery. And he has written it for all of us, for all the devotees. Because he knew that as Sri Ramakrishna himself predicted, I will be worshipped ghore ghore, from house to house, from home to home, I will be worshipped everywhere. He knew that this hymn will be an inspiration for millions of devotees over the course of hundreds of years. So, and interestingly, it's a kind of universal hymn. You'll see that nowhere in this hymn is the name of Sri Ramakrishna given. So it actually can be sung by any devotee of God. There is a church in Calcutta where this hymn is sung to Jesus. That's amazing. It's applicable. It can be. It's perfectly applicable. But we find that for us, naturally, it particularly speaks to us when we think of it as associated with Sri Ramakrishna. Vanditomai, we adore you. Khaṇḍana bhava bandhana. Breaking the bondage of this world. What is the bondage of this world? What does he mean? The bondage of this world. The attachments. We get Swami Vivekananda puts it this way: we are like bees, we have come to sip the honey, and we get stuck in the honey, and we can't get out. we get caught. We think, let me be unattached in this world, and pretty soon we find we're caught, and it's very difficult to break out of that bondage. And that bondage, ultimately, we understand, ultimately it's a bondage arising from ignorance of our true nature. We are ignorant of the nature of reality. We are ignorant of our true nature as infinite consciousness. So we get caught in this world, and Sri Ramakrishna is the breaker of that bondage. How? Well, we can read a little further, but I think he grants us that illumination. He grants us the understanding, oh, I am infinite spirit. What are all these things? Why should I worry about getting attached to all these things? Khaṇḍana bhava bandhana jaga vandana. This is interesting. Adored by all. Adored of the whole world. How can that be? Does everyone love Sri Ramakrishna? There's two interpretations we can think of. One is that Swami Vivekananda intuited that in time, Sri Ramakrishna will become more and more well known, and that many people will love him. But here it says Jagavandana, adored by all. Yes, that's that we all adore the divine, and Ramakrishna is one particular manifestation of divine. But do all people adore the divine? Whoever is the divine. But some people are atheists. Some people don't love God at all. Maybe. We should extend the love to ourselves, or we love our children, or our parents, or like that, or we love our cars or something. Everybody loves something, more or less. So I think that is a key idea, that actually, what do we love? We think we love our families. We think we love our children and parents and spouses. Actually, Upanishad tells us it is not for the sake of the husband that the husband is loved. It's for the sake of the self, sake of the divine shining in the husband that the husband is loved. It's not for the sake of the wife that the wife is loved. It's the sake of the self, the divine shining in the wife. So here we see actually the divine is shining in everything. And when we love somebody, though we may think we're loving a particular person, we are loving the divine. That's how I take this. Jagabandhana. You are, because you are shining in every heart, you are adored by all, whether knowingly or unknowingly. But then he specifically says, I adore you, I worship you, Vanditomai. Niranjana Nara Rupadhara Nirguna Gunamai. This is it's such a poetic hymn, no? He says a lot of alliteration. Niranjana Nara Rupadhara Nirguna Gunamai. Niranjana, completely without stain. This is suggesting his transcendental aspect as untouched by any defect, untouched by any limitation, untouched by any stain, and yet Nara Rupa Dhara, taking human form. Nara Rupa, the human form. Yes, Sri Ramakrishna took a human form like us. We're also we're embodied. This is part of our experience. And so when a great teacher comes like Sri Ramakrishna and takes a human form, he becomes very accessible to us. Nara Rupa Dhara. And then this kind of play on words. Nirguna Gunamoy. Nirguna means beyond the, Nirguna also means, without any good qualities at all. But here it means beyond the three gunas. What are the gunas? Sattva, Rajas, Tamas, the strands that make up this, the world and our experience of it. Of Sattva, the light and equanimity, Rajas, activity, Tamas, darkness and torpor. You are beyond those because you are an embodiment of the infinite divine. So you are beyond the gunas. And yet you are also gunamaya, gunamoy in Bengali. Gunamoy, filled with good qualities. Gunas can refer to these three principles, and also can refer to just qualities, right? We can say someone has good qualities. They have bhalo gun, right? We can say like that? No. Bhalo gun. Bhalo gun. He has good qualities. Good qualities. So we use it also in that term, in that sense of qualities. And here, so on the one hand, he is beyond the gunas, and yet he is full of qualities, of good qualities, and some of those will be delineated in the next verses of this hymn. So let's look at the next verse. I would suggest, if you don't know the hymn well, it's written there on the songbooks. You have the songbooks there, so if you want to refer to that while we're going through it, that may be helpful. If you don't know it well, because then we can look and understand. So the next verse, Mochana Aghadūshana Jagabhūshana Chid Ghanakaya. Again, you can hear this rhyming, this Aghadūshana Jagabhūshana Chid Ghanakaya. Mochana, one who frees us from what? Agha Dushana. Agha it means actually sin. Though in Vedanta we don't like the word sin, but it means the terrible things we have done in this life or in previous lives. It's a tremendous mass of karma. And Swami Vivekananda used to say, only an avatar can actually change our destiny. I can remove our karma. Ordinary gurus cannot do so. And ultimately, our karma, we have to experience some of it until we realize, until we attain realization of our own true nature, until we see God, then our karmas are burnt up. Until then, they remain. But how do they get burnt up? By realizing God, through Sri Ramakrishna's grace, through the divine grace, we realize. And Sri Ramakrishna had that special power of releasing us from that mass of karma, as it were, the mistakes that we have made. We move, says Vivekananda, not from error to truth, but from lower truth to higher truth. So from our standpoint now, yes, some of the things we did, even in this life, were not so noble, were not so great. They caused harm to others, and we understand that now. And but we did those things. That karma remains. So Sri Ramakrishna is the aghadushana mochana. And then this beautiful idea, jagabhushana. Literally, you could say the ornament of the world. When somebody wears a beautiful ornament, they become all the more attractive. They become beautiful. So Sri Ramakrishna is the ornament which transforms this world into a heaven, as it were. But actually, Swami Prabhavananda and Christopher Isherwood, Prabhavananda ji was the founder of our center in Hollywood and the other centers in Southern California. And he had a disciple, Christopher Isherwood. Probably some of you know about him. He was a well-known British writer, very gifted writer. And he became an intimate disciple. And they did a lot of literary work together. And one thing they did was they translated khaṇḍana, bhava, bandhana into a beautiful prayer, which is not, we shall say, not exactly literal. It's more poetic. And I have to look it up because I'll get confused in the middle. But they translate this Jagabhushana as, "Thou whom the cosmos wears, a diamond at its heart." Thou whom the cosmos wears, a diamond at its heart. So the cosmos, this entire universe, is wearing you, and you are actually a diamond at the very heart of the cosmos. Can you follow it? Thou whom the cosmos wears, a diamond at its heart. Very poetic. It's poetry. The whole hymn is poetry. It's difficult often to talk of some things, like to talk of beauty, to talk of the divine. That's why the Upanishads also are written in poetry. So here also, poetry is how we can start to intuit something that's actually beyond words. So Jagabhushana, thou whom the cosmos wears, a diamond at its heart. Chid ghana kai. Kai means the body, and the body is made of chit. This ghana means gathered together or concentrated or solidified. So as it were solidified, your body is as it were solidified consciousness. And people would sometimes get these glimpses of Sri Ramakrishna as suddenly they would see him and he's just full of light. He doesn't seem to have a physical form. He's sitting there full of light. One of Swami Vivekananda's close associates in California, in Los Angeles, he was walking down the stairs, and that's Mrs. Hansbrough, she was walking behind him, and she lost her balance a little. And she reached out and steadied herself by touching his shoulder. And immediately, her mind was thrown into another state. Suddenly she became aware, as it were, of infinite reality, and she was just a speck in that infinite space. And she withdrew her hand, and she was stunned to find, just touching Vivekananda, this experience came to her. So, chid ghana kai. Then this beautiful line, jnananjana vimala nayana, vikshane moha jai. Jnananjana, this is an idea which we find in our Vedantic scriptures and the Hindu tradition. This anjana, this eye ointment, we call it collyrium of what? Of jnana, the collyrium of wisdom. And in the Guru Stotram, this idea also comes. Ajnanitimirandhasya jnananjana shalakaya chakshurunmilitanyena tasmai shri gurave namaha. The deep darkness of ignorance, the Guru takes this collyrium, this stick which has the collyrium, the anjana of jnana, and applies it to our eyes. And therefore, our eyes are opened from the darkness of ignorance to the light of truth. And we bow down to that Guru. That is the idea there. So here, jnananjana vimalanayana vikshane mohajai. In fact, here it seems to be describing Sri Ramakrishna's eyes themselves as being coated, being encircled with this jnananjana, because his sight is completely pure. His eyes are completely pure. Vimala nayana. And vikshane, in one glance, our moha, our delusion goes. Mohajai, our delusion goes. If he simply would cast his glance of grace on us, our delusion would go in that instant. That's the idea here. We have Swami Prabhupada and Christopher Ishwood translate this line as, "Let us look deep in thine eyes. They are bright with the wisdom of God that can wake us from Maya's spell." It's also beautiful poetry. But here it seems that it's Sri Ramakrishna who's glancing. It's not that we have to look at him. He's already looking at us. Let us also look at him. Then if we can truly look at him and find him looking at us with that completely pure sight, which is he brings that power of awakening and our delusion. What is the delusion? Delusion, moha. That this world is all there is, that I'm just a body with a mind and struggling in this life to eke out a little existence and squeeze the lemon of this world to get a few drops. Then it comes across as being so easy to take delusion away. It is not. It's extremely like it's a practice. It's trying. So the question I had, and even in the previous explanation, I was saying, you can love anybody. If we make this definition so wide, it's almost everything is okay, right? But actually to take delusion away, to love God, you have to practice. You have to be really, you have to spend years doing this. So I know there is a significance or what should I say, the value of worshipping Ramakrishna, but there needs to be, what I'm saying is there needs to be some more diligence from the devotees to achieve this, right? It's right. They say that the grace is unconditional. So it's not that we can earn grace by any amount of spiritual practice. But Sri Ramakrishna gives what's the parable he gives about grace?
We can prepare ourselves.
Yeah. We have to raise the sail. I'm raising the sail.
Raising the sail.
Raise the sail. So yes, our spiritual practice is raising the sail, but the grace is always there. Okay. And it can happen like that. And so keep in mind, this hymn, of course, is written for us who are seekers, who are devotees, for all the devotees. So this increases our faith, really, when we think that, yes, it just takes one glance from your gracious eyes. This hymn, in addition to being a hymn of praise, a hymn of love and adoration, it's also a hymn describing the infinite grace of the divine, that the divine comes to us. As Sri Ramakrishna used to say, we take one step towards God, God takes 10 steps towards us, or 100 steps towards us. So like that, this grace, almost every line has this idea. This line, mochana aghadushana, freeing us from the mass of the terrible things that we have done. That's grace. Jagabhushana, that's also grace, the diamond at the heart of the cosmos, and the one who, by his one glance, can awaken us from the beginningless delusion that we're under. It's amazing. So,
Maharaj, I had another way of looking at it. that Ishta, the Thakur in this song, is Jnananjana. He is really even a momentary remembrance of your memory removes the delusion of my head.
Okay, that's a nice. One of the nice things about this hymn is that there are many different ways to interpret the lines. They're not always, because it's poetry, so it's open to different interpretations and different understandings. This because it has this vikshane mohajai in your through your glance, our delusion vanishes. There's a very nice translation into English of this hymn from San Francisco Center, and I'm imagining it might have been done by Swami Ashokananda, but there's no author put to it. This line is translated, "At thy mere glance, all our delusion vanishes." But I like that too, that Sri Ramakrishna himself is the collyrium, that if we can place him, as it were, on our eyes, that means in our whole minds and hearts, and then we perceive this world through him, and then our delusion is gone, as we see that this world becomes just a manifestation of divinity. True, it's also a nice idea.
So the point is, His grace is infinite. It is open to us to receive the grace and be prepared so that we are ready to receive that grace.
Yes, absolutely. True. On the one hand, we can say it can take lifetimes, but at the same time, it can happen now. And Swami Vivekananda would say, "Arise, awake, and stop not till the goal is reached." Now itself, you can no post-mortem emancipation. It's in this life. Let us have it in this life. We can have it now itself. So, let's see. Bhasvara, bhavasagara, chira unmada prema pathar. All right, twice this idea of an ocean comes in this one line. Bhasvara, bhavasagara. You are an ocean of bhava, a bhasvara, a shining, an effulgent ocean of bhava. Now, bhava is one of those words that is wonderful because it has so many different connotations and meanings. And we can take it here as meaning a number of things, but perhaps as spiritual moods and spiritual emotions, bhava, that when it said that Sri Ramakrishna would experience bhava, it would mean that his mind would enter into this deep ecstasy when he would be aware of the presence of the divine everywhere. And this was the command actually that he had received from Divine Mother when he had been immersed in the absolute, in nirvikalpa samadhi for a long time, and his body would not have survived that kind of experience, that kind of long experience of nirvikalpa samadhi. And then he received the Divine Mother's command, remain in bhava mukha. Bhava mukha, what does it mean? Difficult to understand. What does it mean? Swami Saradhananda explains that it seems to mean on the threshold of the absolute and the relative, as it were, with one foot in each realm, if such a thing is possible. So we find in Sri Ramakrishna this, that he is actually an ocean of effulgent spiritual moods, he is the ocean diving into which we find ourselves on the threshold between the absolute and the relative. How can we understand it? Bhasvara, bhavasagara. Some kind of translations, thou effulgent sea of spiritual emotions. The different kinds of translations have been given to this kind of, to this. You are verily a sea of light and divine moods. Thou effulgent sea of spiritual emotions. Yes, that we read that one. Ocean of feeling sublime. So different translations have been given to try to express what does this mean, Mahaswara Bhava Sagara. Ultimately, we have to come to understand it ourselves. As we sing the hymn, as we contemplate on these verses, we start to intuit what does it mean for us? Because it's not that there's one answer. What does it mean? We will find our own meaning as we deepen our spiritual life, as we deepen our relationship with the divine. We start to understand what does it mean for us individually. But at least we can have some inspiration and guidance from this kind of study. Chira unmada, ever intoxicated. Chira means ever, forever, long time. Unmada. Chira unmada. Unmada means intoxicated with Sriram. If we think of Sri Ramakrishna's life, he was always intoxicated with the thought of God, no? Any little suggestion and his mind would go into ecstasy. He would experience samadhi. Chira unmada, prema pathar. He is also an ocean of prema, ocean of love. Love for the divine, also love for humanity, love for the divine as manifesting in human beings. We talked about that last night, how he loved even those who are rejected by society, those whom most people wouldn't touch, wouldn't even look at. His love was for all. And how he blessed Rashik, the sweeper of Dakshineshwar temple, to have spiritual, at the time of his death, he saw Sri Ramakrishna. Sri Ramakrishna came for him at the time of his death. He received that blessing. No one would have been able, would touch him, but he was a devout devotee. He was a devotee. And Sri Ramakrishna loved him very much. So that prema pathar, every disciple of Sri Ramakrishna used to say, you know, I felt like he loved me most. Of all the disciples, I think I was the favorite. How can that be? How can everyone feel that they're the favorite? Of course, a mother should ideally loves all her children equally. But if Sri Ramakrishna is a veritable ocean of love, then anyone who comes close to that ocean will get that touch of infinite love and will feel that, yes, he loves me most. Bhaktarjana jugala charana tarana bhavapar. Bhaktarjana, attained by the devotee. The devotees seek to attain what? Jugala charana, your 2 feet. It's interesting coming from a Western, myself coming from a Western perspective, I had to learn this, or I've sort of learned this idea of the feet. In the Hindu tradition, Indian tradition, the feet occupy a very interesting place. Because on the one hand, they are as it almost despised or considered as something unclean. If my foot unintentionally touches someone else, I feel very bad. I would salute that person. I would apologize. I don't want my foot to touch anything, any holy object. Like if there's a book, it shouldn't lie on the floor. But if it happens to lie on the floor, by no means should my foot touch that holy thing, no? If I come to the altar here, I want to be careful that my feet don't touch the altar, because my feet are something unholy. And yet, Lord's feet we consider as very holy, and we crave to get the dust of the feet of the Lord. We want to hold on to the feet of the Lord. When we meet our elders, our respected people, we touch their feet. We hold on to we take the dust from their feet and put it on our own heads. So it's an interesting kind of tension between, on the one hand, feet as something unholy and feet as something holy. So our own feet we consider as unholy, but others' feet, particularly a guru's feet or the Lord's feet, we consider as holy and desired for. So we have this idea of Mother Kali's feet as being like lotuses, and we are like a bee that wants to dive into that lotus. And here, Sri Ramakrishna's feet are longed for by the devotees. and attaining them, tarana bhavapar. We have a way to cross the ocean of this world, the bhava. It doesn't say oceans literally here, but tarana, carrying us across this world. This idea of attaining illumination, attaining liberation, rather than coming again and again in this bhava, in this world. We cross the world through the grace of the Lord by grabbing onto his feet, his holy feet. This is the from San Francisco. Thy blessed feet, won by the devotees, carry them across the dark waters of the world. It's a nice poetic interpretation of this line. And worshipping the feet, the worshipping Guru's feet, in many traditions they have sandals that are either literally or represent the Guru's sandals, and they worship the paduka, the sandals of the Guru. And there's the temple in Gaya. Have any of you been to the temple, the Vishnu temple in Gaya? There is also just a few of us. It's a tremendous place. Sri Ramakrishna's father had a vision there of Lord Vishnu, that who told him, "I'll be born as your son." And there is this large stone, and right in the center there seems to be a footprint, and this is said to be Vishnu's footprint. And it's beautiful. Of course, it's a temple that's also connected with the funeral rites that one has to do, and every Hindu once in his or her lifetime at least wants to make the pilgrimage to Gaya to make this special offerings there and satisfy all the debts to our ancestors there. But my recollection of the temple was, especially early in the morning, it was such a profound spiritual mood, and it wasn't yet commercial because all the people doing their rituals hadn't come yet. It was just the devotees, a few devotees in the temple, and the whole stone was covered with tulsi. They had literally probably pounds of tulsi that they were worshipping. The Lord's foot. They're worshipping the Lord's foot, Vishnu Pada. So, and there's that verse, Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam Sada Pashyanti Suryaha Deviva Chakshuratatam, which we chant at the pujas, I think from Rig Veda probably. Tad Vishnu Paramam Padam, that supreme state of Vishnu. But Padam also means foot, as it were. So this Lord's feet. All right, let's go on. Jrimbhita Juga Ishwara Jagarishwara Joga Sahai. Jrimbhita. I always think of a flower bursting into bloom with this word, but you have manifested as the Ishvara, as the Lord of this Juga, of this age. Jagadishwara, the Lord of the world, the Lord of the universe, Joga Sahai. It's interesting because there are two interpretations to this Yoga Sahai that I've read. One is that you have taken this, you have manifested as the Juga Ishvara, as the Jagadishwara, through the help of your Yoga Maya. Through Yoga Maya, you have taken a human form. How does the infinite divine take a human form? Through Yoga Maya. So that is one interpretation, but that's not the usual translation. Usual interpretation is that you help us in attaining union. You help us in yoga. You're the helper in yoga, which is a very appealing. I usually think of it in that sense. Yoga, you help us in our striving to attain the divine. But interestingly, also there's this additional possible interpretation that you have manifested yourself as the Juga Ishvara with the help of your Yoga Maya. So it's interesting because that's in Gita also we have that. No? How does the Lord take human form? So this idea, of course, of the avatar, that when avatar comes, whenever needed, yada hi dharmasya, whenever there is a decline of dharma, and the increase in adharma, and it's real, we human beings really need some help here, then the divine manifests in such a powerful way, as people say, avatar. And so again, Vivekananda is coming back here. We're here more or less explicitly. He says, "You are the avatar. You are the Juga Ishvara, the Jagadishvara." And then Nirodhana Samahitamana Nirakhi Tava Kripai. We have the book, if you want to look. It's in the behind the chairs if you want to follow along. Nirodhana. This refers to the state of the mind. Our minds are usually restless, aren't they? When they become completely stilled, that's the state of Nirodha. In yoga philosophy, there are the different stages of mind. Let's see, what are they? First is like mudha, completely deluded. Then is kshipta, which is completely scattered. Then vikshipta is wavering back and forth. Then ekagrata is one-pointed. And after ekagrata is nirodha, suspended, completely restrained. So nirodhana samahitamana, the mind completely absorbed. Nirakhi tava kripai, we see you by your grace. Tava kripai, here again this idea of grace comes. By your grace, nirakhi, I see you. I see you by your grace. How do I see you? When my mind becomes completely absorbed in you and it is completely restrained. Here is the translation from San Francisco. Our minds wholly restrained and absorbed in thee, we behold thee by thy grace. So Sri Ramakrishna this is an interesting translation here. This is from the complete works of Swami Vivekananda. Here, this fourth verse is translated like this. O Lord of the world, through thy yoga power, thou shinest as the incarnation clear of this our time. O thou of strict restraint, Nirodhana, only through thine unstinted grace we see the mind in samadhi completely merged. Mercy incarnate, austere are thy deeds. So it's a little bit of an awkward translation. The problem with the translations in the complete works, they tried to, whoever did them, tried to put a meter to them. So each line of this translation ten syllables. But English doesn't work that way. It's not like Sanskrit, where syllables, you count the number of syllables and you make your line. And of course, even in Sanskrit, there are strict rules about when you have a long syllable and a short syllable. But so they put, O Lord of the world, through thy yoga power, that's 11. Thou shinest as the incarnation clear, 10. Of this our time, O thou of strict restraint, 10. So that's why the translations in the complete works of poetry tend to be a little stilted, because English doesn't work that way. No, it has to be poetry. It has to have the rhythm, but you can't count syllables and have it work. So it's now just past 11. I wonder how much appetite you have for going on, or should we take a little tea break? Of course, some of you have come a little late, but from those of us who have been at the beginning, maybe we're reaching the end of our ability to absorb more, because we've already been going straight for an hour, and we've dived into 4 of these verses. That's very good. We can take a little tea break. After tea, it's around 11:30. We can 11:20, 11:25, 11:30. We can come back. do the next 4 verses, and then we can break for lunch. And then after lunch, we can complete it with the last section of the hymn. How does that sound? So let's stop here then and have a little tea. And we can talk, if we can talk about this hymn. We can, rather than talking about all the things that we ordinarily talk about, let's talk about this hymn, this beautiful hymn of Swami Vivekananda. And I'll bring this translation along with me so that we can talk about that.